Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 56. Chapter 56. Taking a Hurt Tony. Stark. At this time, Ethan leaned against the wall of the cave with something wrong. Tony glanced at him, instantly attracted by the bright red clothes on him. Ethan, you're hurt. Tony came to him in a hurry. It seems that I can't leave here with you, Ethan said with a pale face. No, we agreed, we will leave together. Tony was a little excited and a little guilty, because he didn't protect the other party well. Levi's was also a little surprised to see Ethan's wound. When did he get shot? Could it be a stray bullet bounced off Tony's armor? That's really bad luck, I said. Can you guys stop looking like you are parting from life and death? Hearing his words, Tony immediately turned to look at him. Can you save him? Definitely, but I'm adding 500 million United States dollars, as long as you can save him, Tony said without hesitation. When Levi's heard the words, he was at a loss for words. He just wanted to say that Dr. Eason was already determined to die, and it was up to him to choose whether he wanted to live or not. Unexpectedly, Tony directly dumped another 500 million United States dollars. Does he seem like such a poor man? But having money without making money is a fool. No problem, Levi's agreed, and then regardless of Ethan's willingness or not, he directly forcibly shot and patted his chest where he was shot. Okay, remember that you already owe me 1.1 billion United States dollars. Is that all right? Tony's face is stunned. Just take a shot like this. He had never seen such treatment. However, when he looked at Ethan, he saw that the shot from his chest had disappeared, as if he had not been shot. Levi's used molecular manipulation to directly break down the bullet in Ethan's body, and then created the blood molecules and protein and fat molecules needed by the wound to repair the wound. It's a repair at the molecular level, so it doesn't look like it's been shot. Tony looked at Levi's with a bewildered expression, completely unexpected that he would have such an incredible ability. Okay, don't look, those terrorists are coming in. Levi's pointed to the outside of the cave. When these terrorists saw that Tony didn't show up for a long time, they all surrounded him. I'm running out of reactor energy in my chest. Wes will depend on you next. Tony looked at the energy of his armor. It was completely unable to support him to kill these terrorists. It's so easy. Levi's pouted and came to the entrance of the cave. When the terrorists outside the cave saw someone coming out, they immediately picked up their guns and fired wildly. Tony was a little anxious when he saw him go out just like that. However, before he could say anything, he saw countless bullets all standing still in front of Levi's. By the time the terrorists outside the cave ran out of bullets, a lot of bullets had piled up in front of Levi's. Give it back to you. Levi's waved his hand, and the next moment all the bullets were returned under the control of electromagnetic force. For a while, there was screaming outside the cave. When everything was settled, the outside of the cave had become silent, and there was no sound of a single person. Although Tony didn't go out to see it, he could still imagine how tragic it was outside the cave. Ethan, let's get out of here. Tony supported the weak Ethan and went out. Don't be so troublesome. Levi's grabbed Tony and Ethan. Let me see, the seaside villa should be here. After determining the location, he launched the space move. The next moment, the three were already in a luxurious villa. Suddenly coming from the cave to a villa, Tony and Ethan were a little stunned. What happened? Where are we? Tony looked around with a dazed expression, only feeling that this villa hall was a little familiar. Isn't this your villa? Levi's shrugged, then poured himself a random bottle of red wine from the wine rack on the side. My villa. Tony was still a little confused. They were still in the cave just now, but they were told that they had gone home. It is impossible for anyone to believe such a ridiculous thing. But after he looked around carefully, he found that this was really his villa. He couldn't even know where he lived. Okay, my task has been completed. Remember to put 1.1 billion United States dollars into this account, and I will leave first if I have something to do. Levi's drank a glass of red wine, then left an account and disappeared. Tony was still a little stunned, but he quickly realized that first he took off his heavy armor. Then I called the secretary, Pepper. Soon, a blonde beauty with slightly red eyes hurried to the seaside villa. Tony saw that although she had a lot of things to say in her heart, she couldn't. After these 3 months, he was a little less frivolous and a little more calm than before. Tony, why are you suddenly in the villa? We are looking for you everywhere. Little Pepper said that the tears could not stop flowing down. Don't worry, I'm back safely, Tony said and opened his arms. Seeing this, Little Pepper couldn't help throwing herself into his arms. But after seeing the magnet on Tony's chest, Pepper became worried again. Tony, let's go to the hospital. No, I don't want to go to the hospital right now. Don't make trouble, Tony, you have to go to the hospital now. Pepper's attitude was very firm. Nothing is necessary, I was imprisoned for 3 months and all I do now is eat an American cheeseburger and the other. No, Pepper cut him off, and she guessed that Tony had just come out of hell and must be trying to throw a party again. But this time she was wrong. Tony at the moment is no longer the playboy he used to be. The other is to hold a press conference. Tony looked at her seriously and said. Little Pepper was obviously stunned when he heard his words. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 57. Chapter 57. Lauren and Hash 039's gift. An hour later, Pepper is ready for the launch. Because this was Tony Stark's first press conference 3 months after he disappeared, all the media who got the news flocked. In addition, Tony also instructed Pepper to transfer $1.1 billion United States dollars to an account. In Mutant College, Levi's sat with Polaris and Clarice in a spacious living room watching the news, which was Tony Stark's presentation. Weiss, your mission today is to save this person? Polaris asked curiously. That's right, Levi's nodded with a smile. Tony Stark, the most famous playboy in New York, why are you going to save him, Weiss? The little naughty asked inexplicably while eating snacks. I'm now the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Rescue Tony Stark is my mission today, and I have to thank this mission for making me $1.1 billion United States dollars. Levi's grinned. $1.1 billion United States dollars. When everyone heard this number, they couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. You must know that they usually have no source of money, and they have to save pocket money for a long time to go shopping. It is unbelievable to hear such a large number suddenly. Seeing everyone so surprised, Levi's was a little proud. Don't pay too much attention to this number, after all Tony Stark has money, and the money is just a trifle to him. Hearing him say that, everyone calmed down. But even this is unbelievable. I made $1.1 billion United States dollars just by going out and doing one mission, this. The little naughty is still a little unbelievable, and always feels that the money is a bit unreal. Levi's smiled and shook his head, it's only this time. It won't be easy to meet such a bad guy next time. It's also a good thing that this time I met Tony Stark, who is not bad for money, otherwise he wouldn't be able to extort so much money. Tony would have vomited blood when he knew that Levi's was the one sent by S.H.I.E.L.D. to rescue him. By the way, after earning so much money this time, I decided to increase the Academy's equipment and scholarships. How about taking a score test? The top 10 will be rewarded with 10,000 United States dollars. It is natural to have money to use. Now that he has become the leader of X-Men, it is also necessary to contribute some to the Academy. Speaking of which, he also moved into a bigger room after becoming the leader of the X-Men, which is where they are now. Compared to the previous small room, this place is much more spacious. When everyone heard his decision, they all agreed. Levi's was all smiles, because this time he not only made $1.1 billion United States dollars, but also a large number of shares in Stark Industries that were mostly scattered outside. As far as these shares are concerned, it is not comparable to $1.1 billion United States dollars. It can be said that from now on, he is the second largest shareholder of Stark Industries. The other side, when Tony saw Phil Coulson and learned that Levi's was the man S.H.I.E.L.D. sent out to rescue him, his face darkened. At the moment Tony had a sentence in his heart that MMP didn't know whether to say or not, but when he thought about Levi's powerful and mysterious ability, he thought about it and still didn't say it. Now that the money has been given, he can't do anything to ask for it back. In the end, I could only admit that I was unlucky. The next day, Levi's is usually ready to go to class, although he has become the leader of X-Men, but the class still has to be taken. This is what Storm said. After all, he had been absent from class for a long time. If he didn't go to class, the consequences would be very serious. As a result, Levi's had to obediently come to class. Hey, Wes is here, As soon as she came to the classroom, she was pulled by the enthusiastic Lauren to the seat next to her. How is Lauren's super ability control recently? Levi's looked at this enthusiastic, cheerful, blonde girl with a hot body and smiled. Well, I've been training very hard recently. By the way, I'll show you this, she said with her hands on the table and closed her eyes. A magical scene happened, and a white stone statue slowly appeared on the table. The statue is very delicate, and it can be seen that it is exactly what Levi's looks like. Lauren opened her eyes with great satisfaction at her masterpiece. How is Weiss? Well, very good. Levi's smiled and nodded in praise. It seems that you have worked really hard, Lauren, to be able to use molecular structure to create such a stone statue. With his approval, Lauren smiled very happily. You must know that she has worked hard for a long time to create this statue, and now it seems that it is worth it. Weiss, this statue is for you. Oh, thank you so much, I will keep it well. Levi smiled, and then the statue disappeared instantly with a wave of his hand. Lauren froze for a moment. Where did the statue go? Don't worry, I've put it in the most conspicuous place in my room, you can go to my place to see it when you have time, he explained with a smile. You must know that his spatial movement is not tight, but he can move himself, and he can move objects to any position. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 58. Chapter 58. Sign into Shadowcat, travel through. What are you talking about? Can I sit here? While Levi's was chatting with Lauren, Shadowcat Katie came to him. Just a casual chat. Levi's laughed. Suddenly he was stunned for a moment, because he realized that he didn't seem to have signed into Shadowcat, right? Unexpectedly, there was a fish that slipped through the net beside him, which really made him a little embarrassed. But it just happened that I haven't signed in today, so I signed in on Shadowcat. Open black lens bracket ding. Did the host check in on mutant Shadowcat Katie? Close black lens bracket. Yes. Open black lens bracket ding. The sign in is successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the super ability, traversal, and the experience value is 100 points. Close black lens bracket. Cross. That's right, even if everyone thinks of the ability to cross. Remember that when Shadowcat uses this ability, it can transform itself into atomic components and pass through any obstacle. In this state, she can temporarily integrate with the object without interfering with each other until her body passes through the barrier. And when being attacked, including missiles and quantum weapons can't cause damage to her. The most important thing is that she can use this ability to send human consciousness back to the past or future. This is very buggy. If she is dissatisfied with her future, she can directly go back to the past and change the future. And the traveling that Levi's got is more powerful than Shadowcat. He can not only send consciousness back to the past and future, but even his body can be sent back. And he traveled not only the past and the future, but also the parallel world of Marvel. Definitely, with his current ability, he can only let his own consciousness traverse at most. Only by becoming a level 5 mutant can the body travel together. Thinking of this, Leviston thought of a lot of possibilities. For example, if he travels to other parallel worlds in the Marvel Universe, can he sign in again? You must know that after he has signed into a target once, if he signs in again, he will generally not have any super ability or experience value rewards. But can you sign in repeatedly in a parallel world? This idea is well worth trying. But that won't happen until he becomes a 5th level mutant. There are still a lot of mutants in the academy that haven't signed up, enough to make him a level 5 mutant. And if I remember correctly, the Marvel Universe has a time management bureau, so this matter needs to be cautious. Inside the classroom, while talking and laughing, a teacher soon came to class, and Levi's was a little surprised that it was Reed who taught them. Seeing his surprised look, Lauren on the side explained with a smile. Don't be surprised, after Dad became a teacher at the school, he often taught us all kinds of knowledge. It can be seen that the students like him very much. Levi smiled. It was hard to imagine a guy who hated mutants so much, but now he's a teacher that mutants like. A boring day. The next day, Levi's received news from the 5 Cuckoo sisters. After more than half a month of work, his lab was finally ready. The news made him very excited. The lab is ready, which means it's time to start working on Magneto's machine. As for the researchers, he has already had candidates. That's Dr. Campbell, Dr. Campbell's ability to successfully develop Sentinel is beyond doubt. Levi's has great confidence in him, and believes that as long as he is given time, he will be able to develop a machine that enables ordinary people to activate Memory X and become a mutant without side effects. Immediately afterwards, he used space movement to bring Dr. Campbell out. As for whether the disappearance of Dr. Campbell would cause any uproar, he didn't care at all. No one knew that he took Dr. Campbell away. Beneath an abandoned farm in the suburbs of New York. No one could have imagined that there would be a large laboratory here. Wes, welcome to the lab. He was greeted by Mystique. Mystique was the leader of the Mutant Brotherhood while Magneto was in the military prison. This lab was also found by Mystique. Are you all ready? Levi's took Dr. Campbell and 2 of the Cuckoo sisters into the underground laboratory under the leadership of Mystique. Don't worry, everything is ready, Mystique said as he led the way. Through the long metal passage, everyone soon came to the laboratory. Levi's looked around and saw that the electric stove, electronic analytical balance, magnetic stirrer and other equipment were all available. Many of these sophisticated scientific research instruments cannot be bought with money, and they were finally obtained through the resources given by S.H.I.E.L.D. At the same time, the machines made by Magneto are also placed in the test area. Then let's get started. Seeing that there was no problem, Levi's waved his hand and let Dr. Campbell start his research behind him. There are still too few researchers. There is only Dr. Campbell in the huge research room, which always feels too monotonous, and the efficiency is too low. Mystique on the side said, I have found some researchers who will be here soon. The Hellfire Club also has some researchers that can be dispatched, the Cuckoo sisters added. Okay, get them ready as soon as possible. Levi's nodded with satisfaction, the more researchers the better. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 59. Chapter 59 Playing Tony Stark. Definitely, the confidentiality work must also be done well. There is telepathy of the Cuckoo sisters in this regard, which should be no problem. But when it comes to scientific researchers, Dr. Ethan should be one of them. Ethan's family was all killed by terrorists, so he was already in the cave, and Levi's forcibly rescued him. But if he can stop it once, it doesn't mean that he can stop it the second time. It would be a waste for such an excellent researcher to die. Maybe I should bring him here, Levi's thought, rubbing his chin. Do it when you think of it. He dialed Tony directly. At the same time, in a lab full of technology, Tony's dropped cell phone automatically connected the call. Hey, does Uncle Tony remember who I am? ... Why isn't anyone answering the phone? Levi's is a little weird. Forget it, let's go and have a look. After thinking about it, he decided to go and have a look. It wasn't a problem anyway. Using space to move, he came to a laboratory in the blink of an eye. The whole lab looked a little messy, and Tony was lying on the ground with a bluish face. Is this the reactor being taken away? Levi's looked at Tony lying on the ground with some surprise, but he didn't expect him to come just in time, just when Obadiah took the reactor on Tony's chest. Hey, are you all right? Levi's turned him over and saw that he was holding the previously replaced reactor in his hand, trying to put it into his chest. Are you going to put this on your chest? Levi's took the reactor in his hand and played with it. Tony was going to put the reactor on, but he took it away. At the moment his eyes were white and he had the heart to kill. Hey, don't stare at me like that. Levi's spread his hands innocently. Are you going to put this thing on, you say? However, Tony was paralyzed by Obadiah's use of infrasound waves before. It would be good to be able to climb here. Where can he speak? Levi's heart blossomed when he saw him staring at him the whole time. What a fun way to tease Iron Man like that. Okay, don't talk about it. As he spoke, he threw the reactor aside with his backhand. Seeing this, there was only one thing in Tony's mind that MMP wanted to blurt out. Without that reactor, the shrapnel in his body would soon enter his heart and kill him. Oh, it's really disgusting. Why did you dig a hole in your chest? Levi's looked at the hole in Tony's chest. It was filled with yellow fluid, which was disgusting. Then he violently removed the hoop from Tony's chest. After this operation, Tony's entire consciousness has begun to disintegrate. Seeing this, Levi's didn't waste any time, and directly used molecular manipulation to repair the wound on his chest. At the same time, the shrapnel in his body was also changed in molecular structure and became blood molecules. Just a moment. Tony's entire chest injury has recovered as before. Hey, it's time to wake up. Levi's poured a glass of red wine from a nearby wine rack, then came over to Tony and nudged him. Tony opened his eyes in a daze, and looked at himself for the first time. I'm not dead yet, definitely. How could you die with me? But remember that I saved you again. Levi sipped red wine and smiled with his legs crossed on the sofa beside him. Tony looked down and felt his hands on his chest to find that the hole in his chest had miraculously disappeared. Normally he would be very happy, but now he is not happy. Because if the chest is restored to the original, there is no way to use the reactor, which makes it impossible to ship the steel battle suit. After all, the reactor is so big that it is impossible to force it into the steel battle suit, and it is too late to modify it now. Weiss, now only you can save Pepper. Tony got up from the ground in a hurry, then came to Levi's and looked at him seriously. No problem, but don't forget. As much as you want. Tony cut him off. No, I just wanted to say don't forget to buy me a drink. Levi's gestured with a red wine glass. He is not short of money, and now Stark Industries also has his shares. If Tony gives him money, doesn't he give his own money? He's not that stupid. Besides, he didn't want to be seen as a greedy man. Definitely no problem. Although Tony was a little surprised at his request, this was just a trivial matter for him. Grab me, we're going. Levi's put down his red wine glass and said. Tony hurriedly grabbed his shoulders at this. The next moment, the two disappeared into the laboratory. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 60. Chapter 60 asking about the whereabouts of Dr. Ethan. Outside a laboratory in the Stark Industrial Building, there was a sudden loud rumbling sound. Immediately afterwards, Pepper ran out of the building. She desperately wanted to call Tony, but the phone never got through. At this moment, the ground suddenly shook. Immediately afterwards, a man of steel covered in metal crawled out from the ground. Where do you want to run? Obadiah's metallic voice came from the steel armor. Seeing this, little Pepper screamed in fright. At this moment, two people suddenly appeared not far from the steel armor. The steel armor, which was just about to kill Pepper, stopped immediately. Hey, Tony, didn't expect you to be alive. Obadiah looked at Tony in surprise. Tony. Pepper saw Tony and couldn't help running over. Seeing this, Obadiah directly raised the muzzle on his arm and aimed it at the two. Seeing countless bullets swarming towards them, Tony could only shout. Weiss. When the bullets were less than 1 meter away from the three, all the bullets stopped. Levi's folded his arms and smiled. Don't worry, it's just a tin box. Can you be in time next time? Tony's mouth twitched. He could see Levi's bad taste. Obviously, he could intercept the opponent's bullets earlier, but he had to play so exciting. I try. Levi's grinned. Obadiah was a little surprised when he saw that all the bullets were blocked. Then, without hesitation, he opened the small tracking projectile loaded on his back and pressed it to fire. The small homing missile, however, did not respond at all. What's going on? Obadiah was a little puzzled. It's useless, you can stop for a while. Levi's disdainfully stretched out his hand and grabbed it in the void, and the next moment he saw Obadiah's steel armor quickly dismantled. No, Obadiah watched in horror as his steel armor was torn apart and let out a powerless roar. Without this armor, he is just an ordinary old man. However, no matter how much he wailed, it was useless, but in the blink of an eye, the entire iron shell was dismantled. Obadiah's old figure also rolled out of it. It's up to you next. Levi's looked at Tony with a bored look. No, leave it to me. At this time Phil Coulson came out of the building, and he came to Obadiah with a look of anger. Obadiah, I will arrest you on charges of smuggling arms and killing SHIELD agents, etc. After that, Phil Coulson punched Obadiah in the face with an angry punch. Because in the laboratory just now, several agents have been killed by Obadiah. If it weren't for the circumstances, he would have wanted to kill Obadiah with one shot. After the steel armor was dismantled, Obadiah had been sluggish. He couldn't accept that the armor he had worked so hard to build could be dismantled so easily. At this time Tony came to Levi's and said, "You saved me again, $1 billion USD is enough." Levi's raised his eyebrows. Am I that greedy for money? No, this time is different, you saved Pepper. At the moment Tony seemed to finally realize the importance of Pepper to him. No need, your money is mine after all. Levi's shook his head with his arms crossed. Tony was stunned when he heard his words, a little confused. The little Pepper on the side reacted, and she guessed, Tony, during the time when you disappeared, Stark Industries stock fell sharply. Just a few days ago, someone bought Stark Industries stock aggressively, and now it has become the second largest shareholder of Stark Industries. Tony also understood after hearing the words. He gave a thumbs up and said, very wise decision. Seeing him look so stinky, Levi's couldn't help but pouted, and then he started talking about business. Tony, I actually came to you this time to ask Dr. Ethan. I have something to ask him. Dr. Ethan, he's back. Go back. Levi's froze for a moment. Yes, back to the Gumila area. Where is his hometown? Why didn't you stop him? Levi's frowned, remembering that the Gumila area was chaotically occupied by a group of terrorists. I want to. Tony looked helpless. He also tried to stop Ethan, but Ethan didn't listen at all, and was very persistent in wanting to return to his hometown. There was no way Tony had to let him go. Levi's couldn't help but sighed, and could see that Ethan was really determined to die, otherwise he wouldn't go there knowing that the Gumila area was very chaotic. Okay, since that's the case, I'll leave first. Goodbye, I'll invite you to the next dance. Tony didn't hold back because he had a lot of work to do himself. Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Pepper said thanks again. Levi's waved his hand to leave. Please like and subscribe.